Hey, what's up, and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here in video format. A ton of things to get into, so let's just get into it. First question is from John, who says, "Hey Q, do you think Kevin Stefanski brings a good culture? Usually, teams that finish games or battle through tough losses have a great culture. I have not seen that in the past 2 years." Okay, man. So here is the thing about a great culture, right? Everybody wants it and everybody wants it immediately. But that's just not how a great culture is built. Great cultures take like years to be developed. They take luck and they take sustained success as well, right? And if you want an example of this and how long it takes, even if you're the most extreme version of that, let's go to the Golden State Warriors. About 2012, 2013, we were still thinking of the Warriors how we always thought of the Warriors as kind of a losing basketball team, right? They have a couple of good years. Then they win the championship in 2015. Now we're thinking of them as a good team right now, right? 2016 comes, they blow that game, they blow that series versus the Cavs, changes how people think. They get KD, they win those two championships, and then they got back to the NBA Finals without Kevin Durant for most of the last series that they played in the Western Conference Finals. And that's when, in 2019, that's when the Warriors were officially a winning culture. Where it's like, hey, it don't matter what you do to these dudes. They have won so much to the point that they just know how to win instinctually. That took 6 years, 6 seasons of sustained success, championships to get to that point. We look at Baltimore. They came in with the Ray Lewis era from 2000 to about 2012. They were great teams. 2 Super Bowls in that run. Now we look at them differently, right? We can even roll into Pittsburgh, right? Who they wouldn't be who they are if they didn't have that run in the 70s. That's where they got all this confidence from, right? The 70s and then the Big Ben run in the early 2000s to mid 2000s in those 2 Super Bowls, and now they're the Steelers. We want Kevin Stefanski to come in here, or we want a coach to come in here and impart a good culture immediately. But the reality is, you can't just build a good culture because you're a good coach. If Bill Belichick got fired from New England, walked in today, he would have a hard time trying to build a new culture in any team that he walks into. Same thing for Tom Brady. It was difficult for him to do that in Tampa Bay. He ended up doing it because he's Tom Brady and he's on the field, so he has a direct impact on the success. So it's a little bit different with him. But it was still difficult over there. And it still doesn't remain because you see all the stuff that goes down over there in Tampa Bay if they actually have a good culture, if they just have a good team. It takes years of sustained success. Ask Bill Belichick, who when he was in Cleveland was here with Nick Saban, two of the biggest good culture guys ever, right? Like Alabama has a winning culture, and the Patriots have a winning culture, as we saw last Sunday. They did not have a winning culture here in Cleveland just because they were good coaches here in Cleveland. It took It ultimately, they didn't have the luck. They didn't have the sustained success. They did not stay. They got fired, and people thought they were losers. And then they proved to everybody to be winners. Building a winning culture is not something we can expect in 2 years. Building a winning culture is not something that's going to suddenly exist because you had one above average season. It takes year after year after year after year. The Bills have not missed the playoffs since 2019. I believe they even made it in 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, they have been sustaining this success. Now they have a culture. Now they can win these games at the end that they usually didn't. Took 5 years for even the Bills. Josh Allen. We talk so much about winning culture as fans, but we don't understand the price it takes to get there. And this doesn't mean keep Kevin Stefanski for 5 years, regardless of whatever he does, because it's going to build a good culture. No, it doesn't matter how long a coach is there. If the success is not, your culture means nothing. No team has good culture unless they have sustained success in the NFL. That is the truth of it. And when you stop having that sustained success, coach go away. That's what it is. It's not going to happen in 2 years. We're not going to see evidence of it in 2 years. If Kevin gets together with Deshaun Watson and for the next 5 years the Browns are contenders, we will have a changed culture. That's what it would take. But firing and hiring people, like, it's not just going to be Kevin Stefanski that brings a good culture. The good culture needs to come with success. The good culture needs to come with some stability, and the good culture needs to come through that. That's how it's built. It takes years on years. And again, even if it happens with Kevin, it's going to take like 5 years to sustain success to get to that point. You can't just microwave good culture. It has to happen organically. So no, I don't have a determination on whether Kevin brings a good culture, because ultimately he has not had the sustained success to establish a culture. So he has no culture. This team has no culture right now. And every team that doesn't have sustained success with their current regime has no culture. That's what it is. Look at the teams that have a culture that we associate with them. The head coach usually been there for like 10, 15 years. Point blank period. Or at least 5. Not 2 or 3 or 4. Ibra with the question says, hey, do you think Myles Garrett needs to do more? I know he plays well. He's our best player on defense, but the season is present. No, the defense just sucks, man. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Myles Garrett can do everything he wants. If the rest of the defense is this abysmal, it doesn't matter what he does. Like, Myles Garrett can't just fix the whole defense by himself. He can fix some elements of it by himself. Most definitely. Like, the defensive line play wasn't terrible last week. That was all Myles Garrett. And that's a hell of a thing for one player to fix. And that's why he's Myles Garrett. But he ain't going to fix the linebackers. That's not his job. He can't fix the DBs. That's not his job. Like, at some point, he's a human being. And there's only so much he can do if everybody else around him stinks. And right now, that's the situation. Nobody's good right now. Nobody's good, man. Next question comes from Greg Parkins. Do you think the overall even kill temperament of the organization and coaching staff leads to a lack of motivation for the players? Everyone just always seems to be boring and bland? No. Ultimately, a player's motivation is internal. It's internal. They are adults. They are adults. I feel like we get into this space where we perpetually talk about athletes as juveniles, because usually we're speaking from experience of being athletes as juveniles, right? Most of us did not play high-level college football or even college football, period. Most of us did not play professional football. We have no idea what it's like to play sports as an adult, a full-fledged adult. We really only know what it's like to play sports from a juvenile perspective, from a minor, like as a kid. And I think that seeps in to how we talk about the sport, because unconsciously we're doing that. But think about it like this. Do you need somebody to wake you up every day to go to work? Do you need somebody to give you a motivational speech to do your job? If the answer is yes, then you need way too much to be good at your job. You just need way too much motivation to be good at your job. And you should probably change jobs, right? because ultimately your motivation as an adult is internal. There's nobody who's going to walk through my door, scream at me, and get me to make better YouTube videos. I have the motivation myself to wake up every day and make the best videos possible for my audience because that's what I want to do. It's internal. I'm an adult, right? Maybe when I was a kid, I had to be motivated to do things because I didn't understand why it was important. But as an adult, your motivation is internal. Kevin Stefanski's job as a professional football coach is not to motivate the team. And honestly, coaches that try to motivate grown adults like that, they usually end up being flops because that's not how adults are motivated. It's not how you at home, if you're an adult, is motivated to do your job. It's not how anybody's motivated to do their job. Again, I think we come and we have a distaste for some of these things that we don't understand in the sports world because in our sports context, we didn't play professional football. We didn't play college football. We don't know what it's like to be an adult and be playing a sport for a living. We don't know. But the motivation's internal. You got to do this for whatever reason you want to do this for. But the coach ain't going to get you out of bed. This is not high school no more. The coach is not going to get you amped up for a game. This is not high school anymore. You shouldn't need a coach to motivate you. And if you do need a coach to motivate you, you're not an NFL football player. Straight up. Straight up. You'll be out the league because you ain't going to get motivation from your coaches in this league. Your coach is supposed to put you in position to be successful. If that's happening, that's motivation enough to want to do your best on Sundays. You don't need a coach screaming and yelling. That does not work in the NFL. Next question comes from Ashton, who says, with the Panthers possibly having a fire sale, is there any possibility that we can get Derek Brown or Ioannidis, or something for the defense? We'll see what that Panthers fire sale ends up being. I don't know. There's a relationship there, at least, with the Baker Mayfield trade. So it's a possibility of happening. I just don't know. How much the front office wants to prioritize the defensive tackle position, even after everything that we saw. Next question says, do you think it's realistic to expect Watson to go 6-0 when he returns? Because realistically, that's the only chance we have making it at the playoffs. I mean, let's see. Yeah, right now it looks like it's going to be a struggle to even get to 5 wins. And that means he could go 4-2, you get 9. So I don't think he has to go 6-0. And again, we will evaluate Deshaun Watson's run here in a vacuum anyways, right? Whether he can make the playoffs or not is going to be evaluated in that 6-game vacuum. But I don't think it's realistic to expect anybody to go undefeated in their starts. Because this is the NFL. It's just very hard to do that. And I don't think the win-loss record is where the expectations should be with Deshaun Watson, at least this year. Next year, it's a fair thing to do. But this year, it's like, hey, how does he look in this offense? How are things going with it? Especially if they're not in the position to make the playoffs. If they are, the win-loss record is going to be something he's going to be judged on. But, yeah, it really depends on where they're at and what they need out of him. Do I think it's possible he can go 6-0? Sure. Do I think it's possible he doesn't? Absolutely. So I think both are on the table. The next question comes from Pee Wee. Says, I'm still not giving up on the season. What if we're one of those teams that start off bad and bounce back and make the playoffs? My thoughts. Yeah, I mean, look, as much as I complain about the defense, I have seen worse defenses turn around and get better miraculously in the middle of the year. Either because somebody got fired or either because somebody got benched. I've seen it happen. So it's not out the realm of possibility. I don't expect the offense to look like it did Sunday for the rest of the year. So I think they're going to be fine. They're going to have chances to win games here coming up. It's just about, hey, are they going to finally get luck here? Are they finally going to get some of these wins here? That's the question. But, yeah, I wouldn't give up on the season either. The next question comes from Jerome, who says, do you think Watson changes this team's ability to win much at this point with the defense and special teams being terrible? It's hard to believe one guy can make a team even playoff hopeful. Well, the thing that changes when Watson's out there, and we see this with the Bengals, We see this with the Bills. We see this with the Chiefs. You name a franchise quarterback, it happens with. When a team believes that they have the quarterback, it does something different for how confident the team feels that they can pull out these games in the fourth quarter, right? It's just human nature. If you've ever been on you don't even have to have played professional football to understand this. If you've ever played pickup basketball and you got the coldest dude at the gym on your pickup team, all of a sudden, close game, you ready to hustle that extra step because you know you got somebody that can make that shot. Right? We've all been there. Anybody who's played pickup basketball, we've all been there where we got the dude that's really good on our team, and all we need to do is just play a little defense. All of a sudden, now you squatting down, you playing defense real hard to win that game in a pickup game. Like that's I've been that dude before. Not the best dude at the gym, but like the dude who had the best dude at the gym, and all of a sudden now I'm playing hard defense. And that's what Watson changes. As good as Jacoby Brissett has been for most of the season, nobody's looking at Jacoby like, oh, we got this because we got Jacoby. Nobody's doing that. But they might look at Deshaun and think they got this because they got Deshaun. And that elevates people's play. We're seeing it in Cincinnati. They made the Super Bowl because they had that confidence. We see this in Kansas City. We see this in Buffalo. When you have that guy, it does something different for the confidence of the people on that team. Because when you feel like you got the best player on the field, you feel like you should win. And name me a situation where even if you just play football, if you play football, and let me know in the comment section, I want to hear from y'all. If you play football with a 4 or 5-star recruit on your team, and they were at a position that's not like offensive line, like say if they were like a quarterback, a running back, somebody who can get the ball in their hands and dictate the terms of the game on one side of the ball, or maybe even both sides of the ball. All of a sudden, you have more confidence because you know we got one of them dudes. We got 2 of them dudes. We got a dude on Bama on our team, right? Like, that's the difference having that guy makes. And that is a massive impact. I don't think people understand it because either people are looking at this as spreadsheet. We don't understand the human element of having that guy yet. We will if he gets back to form during this year. But that is the biggest difference a player like that makes. It just is. That's it for this week's Q&A though. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.